This sharing of mine today is all about overcoming, particularly when you're overwhelmed. And I remember on reflection many, many times when I was overwhelmed and I really didn't know what to do. I felt very alone. I felt lost. I felt I had nowhere to go, and I didn't feel good about myself. So I knew to go back and sit. Well, I started to sit and be still, and I thought I have to do something. So I made a decision to sit each day and be still and hope that my Creator, who is peace, who is presence, who is truth, who is love and wisdom and justice, would just come and touch me. That's how I began this journey of overcoming. And over the years, I've sat a little more, a little more, a little more. And if I've waited long enough, a peace has come despite not knowing what to do, despite knowing why I was there. And this peace and this presence would come. That was one way of overcoming for me. And I know now when I get rattled or my mind goes all over the place and I feel lost or stressed or anxious, when I need to overcome all that, I need to sit still and just wait and calm as I am and invite the presence of peace to come into all of that and wait. And little by little, this is years ago now when I first started, um, this peace would come, this presence would come, and I'd feel centered. In fact, if I waited long enough, there would be even a joy coming. Despite my circumstances in life not having changed yet, they did change, I would just feel even joy. I felt full and I didn't feel alone. Just all I had to do was sit and be still and wait. A powerful overcoming tool. Be still and know that I am God. And it reminds me of, it was either a dream or an awakening to an image of this house that was full of light, that had a veranda. And this house that was full of light, very much the same feelings that I had when I sat and was still, were just full of light. And it felt safe, secure. I didn't have to do anything. I just knew there was a presence there. It was a place that I wanted to be. On the veranda, it was still like that. But outside of the veranda and outside of this house was darkness. And it was, I don't know, kind of really scary and really frightening. And I stuck my nose out over the veranda and the wind was like wild. But the message was left for me, stay in the house of light, which really, really associated with me when I sat still long enough. It started with 5 or 10 minutes a day and often went up to 2 hours a day. But for each one, it'll be different. And I waited, and you just know when it's time to leave. And when you leave that place of sitting and coming to that house of light and that presence of light and peace, still not understanding, perhaps your circumstances are not changed. I think I learned then to start practicing remaining in that light and sensing that that presence was my creator, my helper, my friend, uh, my overcomer. He's the overcomer. He said, you will have trouble in the world, but I will overcome. I will overcome. Check it out on Google. You will have trouble in the world, but I will overcome. So when I aligned myself to the light and remained in the house of the Lord, I actually overcame, and I overcame within me. All the anxiety and fear would just settle, all the negativity, or I certainly let go of self-hatred, judgment, condemnation. which are huge blocks, and all the roles that I took on to be responsible and I had to be in control. It was defensive and protective. These are the things that I developed to survive life from my childhood dramas that I had. And I didn't realize then, but one of the greatest overcomings I ever had was one of the facilitators of Agape Encounter um, sat with me one day to deal with this deep aloneness that I often had that would reoccur, and it would affect my relationships negatively. And anyway, we just went into that aloneness, and the wonderful counselor, take you or me, certainly took me that day with the facilitator back into a memory of darkness, not light. And in that darkness was all the emotions of feeling abandoned, alone, not wanted. I felt terrified, anxious, and I just didn't want to be. I felt like I shouldn't even be in this world, in this darkness. Anyway, I wasn't wanted. As I waited and I acknowledged all these feelings, I then was invited to wait and listen to the truth. And I experienced this light coming into the darkness, very biblical. The light came into the darkness, it dispersed slowly as I waited. And that I just sensed a presence, a light, and all those emotions and all those beliefs about myself dissolved slowly and gently as I accepted the light and the presence, not understanding, not knowing, just like Job had to give up wanting to understand, because that becomes like an idol and a god. We don't understand even how the earth is made. We don't understand how the beautiful animals and plants are made. So how can we understand the things beyond this world? So the other things that I had to learn to overcome were simple things like when I was grieving, and I've had all sorts of grief over the years, I'm sure you have as well. And I thought, how do I overcome that? And I had the most amazing experience with a dog that we loved called Rascal. Rascal, I came home from a vet. He said she was fine. She wasn't fine, ended up back into a dog hospital. Awful operation. It was in the midst of my daughter being in a wedding, and awful weekend, traumatic. And at the end, I had to go and see the dog. I had to leave it again. The dog turned away from me. Horrible. I felt like I was betraying the dog. And then I went home and found out that the dog had died of a heart attack. And I was so cross and angry and upset, as often we are when something terrible happens that seems so unjust, unfair. And I was so angry. So I had acknowledged all my anger to God and my lack of understanding. And I was really true about my feelings, which I really encourage you to do, because that's a way of overcoming. And then I was willing to listen, but listening to his perspective, to listen to his way of me wanting to see his perspective, again, his truth. And I heard these words, very gentle words: I have created this dog, and I have given you this dog from me. And now I take this dog back to you. And it was so gentle and so beautiful. And I'd emptied of all my negative feelings. And this peace again and this calm came. And I knew then I could let go. Totally at peace, whereas I'd been totally distraught before. That's really overcoming. And later on, much later on, this is how merciful our Creator I've come to realize is. Later on, I realized that I'd given the dog unknowingly a ham bone about 4 days, 5 days earlier, which you never do, give dogs raw bones. But I was totally unaware of it. I was innocent of giving the dog the bone. And I realized how merciful my Creator was. Here I am getting angry because I didn't understand. And his mercy came and settled my anger and gave me peace, when actually I had created that problem. And sometimes we create things and we don't realize it. We don't realize that we compound our problems and our troubles by reacting rather than responding, by going back, sitting, dealing with our feelings, our thoughts, all the ugly responses that we've had by, I don't know, sometimes we want to kill people. I've heard people say that. We want to, want them to suffer. That's our reaction rather than we need to go and express that and then wait and listen. The key is waiting, listening to the truth again and again and again and again. And I have so many stories like that that I know without doubt that's what I can do. That's what you can do when you're overwhelmed and you don't know what to do. Sit and be still because within you is a treasure trove of wisdom, of guidance, of unconditional love, of peace. But we have to sit still long enough to acknowledge all the layers that we've created or been created through our emotions and our thoughts and our feelings and beliefs, our reactions, and allow that to all be just spoken out, acknowledged, accepted, and then as we wait, allowing for the truth to come. And there are so many other things that I could say to you, but I feel that's enough. That's the key message of overcoming that for me has overcome again and again and again and again. And I still practice that daily, that overcoming when I'm exhausted, tired, overcome, overwhelmed by some circumstances in life. And the way the world is right now, I think we need to focus and I love the scripture that says, those whose minds are stayed on me live in peace because they trust me, despite what's going on in the world, despite what's going on in your life, despite not knowing. Be still and know that I am God. And my daughter got well when I surrendered to her, and she did end up dancing in life. Her health was restored. She's living a beautiful life with the family now. My relationship with my husband has just gone leaps and bounds ahead because I no longer need and want stuff from him because I'm full and satisfied. I go to the source of the one who can fill me up and fulfill me and bring peace so that I no longer need and want things in the world, but I can ask for them, but there's no longer that waiting upon them to be done to fulfill me and bring me peace. Find the peace first, and then all these things will be added to you. Practice it, practice it. And then one day I learned, as I complete this sharing, just to, when I get up from my time of quiet and emptying, just to practice the presence of God, the practice of presence of this peace, of this love, to live with and become one with my Creator, and to make Him my best friend, and to lean into Him, to cling to Him, and to ask for His help in the moments of my life. I encourage you to do the same and see the fruit of what happens despite what's happening in the world, and see the changes that will occur. Thank you for listening.